Hey there, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the seminar so far. My name is Russell Toler. I'm with the Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets, and I'll be sharing today on the importance of the role of advocacy in making our cities better. So, like many of you probably, I consider myself an urbanist. I know this is kind of a clumsy term, but it does okay at describing um, a lot of us who feel that cities can be good, healthy, thriving, wonderful places. So normally that starts with an intuition we all have, right? So it might be uh, noticing a particularly wonderful street, maybe while traveling, or maybe a really bad street and a feeling that, this could be better. It might be memes, it might be movies, but for a lot of us, there's some spark that says streets can be good places and cities can be good places. And I want to help make that happen. So, for those of us like that, I'm, I'm guessing a lot of you here are like that. There's a few routes to take if we want to kind of devote ourselves to it. So, there's the planning profession, that's public planners or consultants, often at cities. So, I did that for about 10 years. I was in the public sector, I worked for a few cities, and then I went into consultant work where we prepared plans. There's also you could just be a builder, you could be a developer. Depending on the size of the project, you could obviously make the facades of our streets, the walls of our outdoor rooms, as we say, nicer. Uh, you could have a lot of sway on the design of the street, on enhancing connectivity, those sorts of things, placemaking. And then lastly, there's advocacy. And that might be in a leadership position, might be at a career position with a nonprofit, and it might just be a community group, and it might be unpaid. So that's what CMABS is. We are a nonprofit, we're a 501c3, but we're all volunteers, and we all just joined hands about 5 or 6 years ago and decided to be an organized group of advocates. So what we say is the Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets, or CMABS, is a community of neighbors who believe our streets can be more than just pipelines for traffic. We want them to be safer, more welcoming, more beautiful places where walking, biking, and local life can feel normal again. So these images that we've chosen and use a lot help convey what we're trying to say, because it's something, this whole topic is easily misunderstood, mischaracterized, derailed. People say, oh, better streets means you want to fix potholes, you want to turn us into New York City. There's all sorts of ways we could be misunderstood. So using images is really helpful. We really just want nice, slow, beautiful, safe, comfortable streets and options of getting around. And a lot of the US is called these groups. So what we do, we advocate for practical people first improvements in our city. So first and foremost, we're advocates. We connect neighbors. So everywhere in your neighborhood, in your city, there are people that would agree with you if you start talking about these things. They might have kind of intuitions the way we all started, but not have the words to articulate what they mean, not really know exactly what's wrong with their street, with their neighborhood. Um, we connect those people. We get them all in the same room. And this last point, we equip them. We kind of help explain people how things work, give them the words to articulate, help with images, um, and we're just more powerful together. So we help keep everybody up to date, and we equip them to make the changes that they want to see in their neighborhoods and their cities. So why streets? There's so many different ways when we're talking about making our cities better that you could go. We could talk about the amount of open spaces or the quality of open spaces. We could talk about the buildings themselves. We could go down the housing path, and all of these can be siloed, sort of, and they kind of need to be siloed because the topic of good, healthy, thriving cities is just too big to, to for any group to tackle. So we focus on streets because streets is a great leverage point. In my opinion, and a lot of our opinions, this is the most bang for your buck you can get when it comes to making our cities better. Because the city, as it says here, is its public space. If I throw names of cities out there like Paris or Barcelona or Rio de Janeiro or San Francisco, your mind's eye is going to be dropped probably in the public realm, probably in a city street. It doesn't take you to some kitchen or some backyard. You think of the city as the public realm. If you don't know who Leon Krier is, you probably should. He's a famous architect and urban theorist. He's famous also for these little cartoons he draws. This is one of my favorites, and it just makes it real clear. Obviously, the hatched are buildings. It's kind of private land, and then the white is mostly public space. And these are different arrangements different cities have. And he's talking about the proportion of public space to private and what might be proper. But really, the point is, all this white space, how they connect, the amount of connectivity, and the quality of that white space, the quality of those spaces, the aesthetic quality, how things move around in those spaces. That's a good way to make our cities better. If we just focus on the quality of those spaces. So white streets, again, they've always been shared public spaces. The takeover of the automobile, of our streets being primarily throughputs for fast machines is really relatively new. They've always been so slow, and on the greatest streets in the world, children can still move about freely in them. And we're advocates. That means we stand on principle. So we have these words like should. Streets should serve a broader civic function than automobile throughput. And we do believe that they should be reclaimed from automobility. Streets are not just about transportation. It's about restoring streets as social, democratic, comfortable, and beautiful spaces where life happens, because that's the point of a public realm in a thing like a city. You could reduce what streets have become to car volume and car speed. It's really those two metrics. And as you turn that down, as you reduce car volume and car speed, you move to the right of this graph. So this is based on a famous series of studies by Donald Appleyard in the 1970s, where he studied the amount of connections where people know each other, how the neighbors, how many acquaintances or friends they have, where they gather. And as you reduce volume and speed of cars, you get this teal blue graphic on the right where life starts happening again. On the left, you have unfortunate circumstances where people get isolated. People don't want to be in the streets. People don't know their neighbors. People don't gather anymore. The neighborhood dies. Bringing this to Costa Mesa, people say, oh, you don't like the way your city, your neighborhood is. Why don't you just move? We get that a lot. Everybody gets that. Costa Mesa has good bones. If you look at this, we have an interesting grid. We have a lot of interconnectivity. We're a city of neighborhoods. So somebody did this about 10 years ago for our general plan. They kind of tried to figure out the boundaries of what can maybe be considered complete, quote unquote, complete neighborhoods, where you can get most of your daily needs done within a walk or bike distance within each of these neighborhoods. We're complete. So we're not a bedroom community where everybody's jobs are in the downtown district that's 20 miles away. No, there's a lot of employment in our city. And lastly, we're flat and we're fair weather. This is Southern California. We shouldn't be as auto dependent as we are. And this is a cultural thing. Despite all the advantages that we have, we still have this kind of our default mode is driving everywhere and having an expectation of that being easy. We are tangled in standard American engineering practices. And that's something that's really hard to fight against. These are national forces with a lot of momentum, and they're very tricky. And that's why people feel so disempowered to fight these standard American engineering practices. Your local transportation planners and civil engineers, they have these big, complicated national standards that they have to stick with. And to deviate from them is a risk on their part. So this is a tough role for a tough environment for advocates to work in. Walking and biking, despite all of our advantages, is really still unpleasant. And even things like our bus service, our regional transportation agency here in Costa Mesa, it's OCTA, Orange County Transportation Authority. They control our streets. They have a lot of say over what kind of streets we can have where and what standards they need to be designed to. And they control our bus services. They can cut our bus services if they want. So another thing that makes things really difficult. CMABS. So what do we do? Support letters so that the city can get state and federal grants for active transportation projects. That's huge. We write formal letters for action to our leadership. We kind of keep a fire lit under them and under staff. So we have these open letters that we're always sending them, urging them to take action. We have a 7-person city council, and there's elections every 2 years. We publish candidate questionnaires to keep this topic of safe and beautiful streets at the forefront. What's your plan? What are your thoughts on this? And we publish those every 2 years. And these the top right picture is this is a grant that we got as a nonprofit. We did some tactical urbanism. That's a little traffic calming roundabout. A couple of years ago, we did bright lights project with some grant money that we got, where we literally bought thousands of dollars worth of blinky lights and passed them out to cyclists that didn't have them. They often get caught in the dark when the time changes in the fall. This is a key role of ours. We help provide political cover so that our elected officials and city staff can be more ambitious. That's huge. They can't do what we want them to do unless the public is on board with it. And so who's the public? We help get everybody together to show support. And lastly, this is also huge. We keep the community informed of what's going on, good things happening, bad things happening, how you can get involved, the impact we've had. We've been around, like I said, for 6 years. I just asked ChatGPT. It's so good at just organizing this stuff. In the early days, we did see some new class 4 bike lanes, bollards getting placed in our streets for the first time in our history. This is huge. Leading pedestrian intervals. This is really expensive and tricky. It sounds boring, but this means when you try to cross the street and you push the button, you get a head start before the car light changes. Complete street safety assessment. We've had lots of new plans for local road safety plan, pedestrian plans, new bike plans on the books, which allows us to get grant money to implement those plans. Guerrilla crosswalk. People are going out on their own and doing some tactical urbanism. It's great, especially when the media picks up on it. More grants for safe streets grants, hundreds of thousands of dollars we've got. This one's huge. The state a few years ago, they passed a new law that enabled cities to have more say-so over their own speed limits. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the environment we're working in. And we, the city of Costa Mesa, actually took action on that. We took advantage of that new law. And we've been lowering speed limits. We did it on 17 segments in 2024. This year, we did it in, I think, 70-something street segments. We've lowered the speed limit. And we continue to have weekly bike rides, bike cleanup days. Active Transportation Committee, which we have, is implementing our active transportation plan. It's wonderful to see. So again, summarizing, we have new ambitious policies in the general plan. In a parallel universe where we didn't have our advocacy group, we probably wouldn't have those. The majority of city council and planning commissioners are watching our every single Instagram story so we can plant seeds, show pictures of how things could be, what other cities are doing, for example. And that last bullet point, we have a seat at the table. We're a force in the city, and we are consulted, and people think about what we're going to say if they propose certain things. So why are we effective? we decided early on, we're not going to be this group that has a hard stance on every little detail. We're going to be guided by principles. We're going to figure out what generally we're about, how we do things, and what we're trying to do. So we had 4: be kind, be reasonable, be holistic, keep the big picture in mind, right? But don't lose your edge. Continue to be radical. We do want radical changes to our streets. Our goals, we got to stay informed with all the information. Everything's happening at every level, regional levels of government, the state level, the local level, all the departments of the local level. Be an agent for change. So the Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets, we have positions on certain things. We're an agent. We're also a resource. We're a resource to our elected officials. We're a resource to staff. We're a resource to the community. We're a hub where we can be that resource. And that last point is spur the discussion. We are where this topic of better streets is fleshed out. So the role of community advocacy. The power belongs to the people. When I started this presentation, I said there's different ways you could go about and throwing yourself into the fight for better streets, into the role of making our cities better. Advocacy, this is not one that pays very well, right? You can make a lot more money, maybe working for a nonprofit, for a city, of course, or being a developer. But in my experience, in my humble opinion, that the lowly advocate is indispensable. We are the ones that nothing happens without. Staff and elected officials need our political cover and support. This is something I noticed really early on in my career. Nobody really knows what they're doing. Cities and cars, it's a new thing. How they mix, how you could have fast things going through city streets, mixing with other people, with slower things. This is all new. There's no right answer. There might be best practices, but even nobody even agrees on what the best practices are. So I say that to say that you know your neighborhood and your city's issues better than staff, better than their consultants, better than the books. So you will have better ideas. The advocate has a lot of power. Somebody needs to connect the allies, and it's the advocate that can find everybody that has these thoughts, these intuitions, these ideals, and can bring everybody together and organize. So wrapping up here, lessons learned. These are all things, I won't go through them individually, but these are things that are easy to forget once you get thrown in the fight. Once the fire gets hot, it's easy to go pedal to the metal too hard and forget this. The commonality between all these points is to play the long game. Keep the pressure on consistently, year over year, build allies, keep things positive, get your people elected, figure out ways to help. Don't just complain, come with specific solutions, play the long game. So I hope that is inspiring and encouraging. That's my experience as a community advocate in the city of Costa Mesa. I hope wherever you live, you figure out how to create or find a group that's already doing it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the seminar. Thank you.